So my name's Joanne, I'm 30 and I live in London. And I was diagnosed with GNE myopathy in 2016, but I'd been having symptoms since around 2012 that I'd noticed. So foot drop, tripping over quite a lot. I ran a half marathon in 2013 and I found it pretty much impossible, and at the time I couldn't understand why when I was training I wasn't getting any better and why my calf muscles were so skinny but they weren't getting any stronger. But now I've been diagnosed, I understand that actually it was a bit of a miracle that I managed to do it. So yeah, diagnosis took a long time just because they thought it was several different things at first, and it took a year of going to the hospital almost every week and having tests to get to the point where we knew what this was after I'd had a muscle biopsy. But then another year where they were really sequencing the genes and finalising the exact diagnosis. So it's had quite a big impact on me. So physically speaking, over the last year I've found that I need either an AFO or a stick to help me get about. I'm not where I need one or the other. So at the moment I'm enjoying being able to use one or the other. In time I know that I'll progress and I'll need more and more aids, but I'm trying to keep going as long as possible and do as much as I can while I can. So in the last 6 months, when I started using the walking stick actually, it gave me it kind of led to a big mental shift, and it made me accept things finally, because I couldn't hide the condition anymore. So when I was using the AFOs, I could pretend that I was okay, I could hide them underneath my clothes. I knew people could see that I was walking differently and walking strangely, but I could just, to myself, I could deny it a bit more. And once I started using the stick, it was actually, in retrospect, a really good thing, because it's forced me to accept it. It's forced me to be open with people about it, to tell my friends exactly what's going on, and everyone's been incredibly supportive. And that's partly why I'm here today, because this kind of change in me over 6 months, where I've gotten to the point of acceptance, has meant that I'm ready to engage with the community and meet other patients and learn more about it. It also led me to do a lot more exercise, which has been really helpful. So I'm trying to find the right balance at the moment, because I don't have as much to give, my muscles get tired more quickly. I don't want to reach the point where my muscles are aching, because that's more damaging for patients with our condition. But I'm trying to work out in a swimming pool and with a personal trainer, and I've recently taken up some yoga classes as well, which I found to be incredibly beneficial, the more relaxing type of yoga rather than the very intense styles. And that's also been really good for my mindset as well, because as well as the physical impacts of this, the emotional side has perhaps been even harder to cope with. And the idea that I won't get to live the life that I expected to live, that's over the last 3 or 4 years, that's really been difficult. I'm getting to a point now where I'm more accepting of it emotionally, and I feel more, I've almost got more self-belief that I'll be able to cope with whatever comes, and I don't see it as my life is over as much anymore. But there's still sadness. And I don't know if I'll end up getting married or having children. It's going to be more difficult for me. I don't know if I see that in my future, and that's been really difficult to come to terms with. But I think I'm not the only one to go through this, and it's lovely to meet other people in similar situations and be inspired by the work that they're doing as well. And I really want to start contributing to this community and to the environment that we're in today at this conference. Oh yes, so I've got 2 sisters, one older, one younger. They are now 35 and nearly 29, so hopefully they're not affected by this. I would have expected they show signs of it, but they've not, and they're a brilliant support. My older sister and her baby live around the corner, and it's really nice to be so close to them, to be able to pop round and hang out for a couple of hours, or even when I need something, like the day I decided this is it, I'm buying a walking stick, I rang my sister who was on maternity leave with her baby, and I was able to say, look, I'm about to do this and I'm ready for it, but at the same time I'm not. Will you just come with me? And they could come along, and it's nice to just know if I'm having a moment where I feel a little bit low, they're 5 minutes walk away, even at my slow pace. and that's just, it feels really good to have that support. And my parents come and visit a lot, and my younger sister's only ever a phone call away, so family have been a fantastic support. Also friends. I've been blown away actually by how incredible some of my friends have been. There are a couple who haven't been able to kind of, I don't think they really know how to deal with it, and so I have lost a couple of friends along the way in the last year or two, which has been disappointing, but it's also shone a light on how incredible so many other people are in my life, and how people have stood by me and let me moan about the same things over and over again, to the point where I was annoying myself, but they were there and would listen and just knew I needed to get it out of my system to process it. So I feel very lucky with the support I've got. I'm also really lucky in terms of my career. So I work in marketing, and a few years ago I set up a company with a friend doing events, and that was difficult once physically I was unable to work with the events as much, and I actually left the company this month just because it was starting not to work out so well, but it's given me the freedom to travel now. So I arrived in India on 3 days ago, and I am going to be here for about 5 weeks, and that's part of a maybe 6 months worth of travel, on and off. I'm going to go back to the UK a couple of times, because I just thought to myself, I've always wanted to travel, and in 20 years time, if I am stuck in my bed, what will I want to see when I look back on my 30s? And I've been unhappy in my job, and so I just thought, this is not what I'd want to see. I'd want memories of travelling the world, and I'd want memories of at least trying. And so me and my walking stick, Steve the Stick, are backpacking, and you get quite a lot of people being surprised when you're a solo female backpacker, but more so when you've got a walking stick. So I'm giving it a go, and I did this in Sri Lanka in November for a few weeks, and it was brilliant. It gave me a lot of confidence. It's made me realise I can still do this, and I'll never be stronger than I am today, physically speaking. So I'm taking the opportunity, and I feel incredibly lucky to have the chance to do this, and I'm going to make the memories that might keep me going when I can't actually do this kind of thing as easily.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Maybe we need to have a separate talk with you just about your travel.
Yeah, that would be fine.
If you could just write for our website or something.
Well, I was thinking that I'd like to. I kind of cringe a bit when people say, "Oh my God, you're so inspiring," but the truth is that the things that people with conditions like this do are inspiring, and if I can show someone else who's got this disease or another similar one that actually, if you're fortunate enough to have the means, because obviously you've got to have the money and things like that, if you're fortunate enough, then you can still do these things, and just because you've got a walking stick, you can go slow, do it gently and give it a try. Sometimes I'll be walking around and I'll reach somewhere that's got a really steep hill, and I'll be like, yeah, no, I'm not going up there. And you have to accept that there'll be moments where you just can't do everything. But I will always go to the bottom of that hill, view it, have a think about it, and then either try it or not. But at least I'm there and I'm looking, and then I'm just adapting in the moment. And I play it a lot safer than I used to when I travel, but that's the nature of it. At least I'm still out there, and long may that continue.
Yes. Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about your decision to use the walking stick? How did you decide? What were the sort of things that were going on in your mind a little bit?
So I'd been using the AFOs every day for about 6 months, and actually the decision to first use a stick, I'd used it while hiking with my family, but literally just 2 or 3 times, and I hated it, but it was really helpful. But it was very necessary because we were in the countryside on hills and things like that, nothing steep, but still I needed the stick. And then in the summer I was pop into my sister's 5 minutes walk, but it was 5 minutes walk even though it's flat, where I couldn't do it without any aid, not comfortably. So I was getting really frustrated having to put my AFOs on every time I wanted to go over there, and if I was wearing, it was hot in the summer and I was wearing shorts, and I hadn't got the confidence to just put the AFOs on with shorts, so every time I'd want to put my jeans on and put the braces on, and off I'd go, and everything felt like just it was taking a lot of effort. So one day I just thought, you know what, I'm going to walk down to hers with a hiking stick that my dad had left at my house, and thought I'll give this a try. And it just made me realise actually this is quite convenient. And I'd also been physically struggling with stability more, so when I was in a crowded room, even if I'd got my AFOs on, I wanted to hold on to something all the time. I was just a bit worried about being knocked, and the stick gave me more confidence. So it was a practical decision, but it took me a couple of weeks to get to the point where I started using it regularly, where I committed and bought a proper stick rather than just using my dad's hiking stick in my local neighbourhood. And then I was mortified every time anyone saw me with it. I was so embarrassed. It's taken me about 6 months to get over that. I went to an event just last week that was in my old workplace, and I didn't actually bump into anyone I knew there, but I could have done. And 3 or 4 months ago, I walked past my old workplace and I did a long route around it so that no one would see me with my stick. I was that worried about it. But to go to this event last week and be ready for someone to see me, I guess it shows how different I feel about it now. Still self-conscious, but more accepting of it to how I was 6 months ago when it started. And I was really resistant to it. And yeah, very embarrassed anytime a friend had to see me with it. But I always briefed people in advance. So if I was meeting people for dinner, I had a standard text message I'd send out just saying, by the way, you know that weird thing I've got with my legs? Well, I've started using a stick, and he's called Steve, and I'm okay with this, and it's actually incredibly helpful. I just want to warn you because I don't want you to be surprised, or I don't want it to be like something you don't know whether to talk about it or not. Everyone's so polite in England. No one knows whether to actually ask or not. So that actually helped, and I got a message after I'd seen one of my best friends saying, it was really good to see you with the stick today. I know you hate it, but you were so much more confident and so much more mobile, and that was really nice to see, and I hope you don't mind me saying this. And actually that message had a big impact on me. It was early in my stick days, and it gave me a lot of kind of confidence to use it more, because if a friend could notice that I was walking around better with it, well, then it was worthwhile.